Guys, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you have a read on someone who's getting hot tonight, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right, awesome. SGA would be a pretty good bet on a player that's getting hot, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Western Conference Finals in just a little bit. I wasn't here yesterday. I'm sure you guys must have had a great time talking about the Pacers.
Yeah.
This is a dream that they're living. This is one of those dream sequences.
Basketball zombies.
And they're gonna be. It's not gonna end with the ultimate dream come true. But what they're doing is absolutely unbelievable. All right, let's talk guards and Tigers. Yesterday they started this series, and again I said that it was as big as a series can get in May, particularly for the team that's doing the chasing. Obviously, if you're the Tigers, it's just a bonus if you can win all four and put the Guardians 10 games behind you. But one way or another, they know they're going to lead this series in first place. I couldn't have seen anything any better than what I saw yesterday. Spectacular pitching. Cade Smith coming in with the bases loaded in the eighth with nobody out and striking out the next three hitters is more proof to me that one day, very, very, very soon, he will be a closer in the major leagues. And they got some clutch hitting. They took advantage of some gaffes in the ninth from Detroit. But what'd you guys make of the start to this series?
Man, listen, I looked at it like you said. If you come in and you lose or you get swept, you're going to be down 10. I look at it this way like, okay, you win game one. If you can get another game somewhere in there, it's a push. Yeah. That's all I wanted to do. If I'm on the road and I'm playing the Tigers, if push comes to shove, if you can just get the split on the road and win game one, then if you can get game two, now you're playing with house money.
Right.
Because after you get the second one, you can get greedy a little bit. You can come back and say, okay, guys, let's see if we can take three, and now you're gaining ground. So I just wanted to come into this series, and like you said, Detroit, we talked to Bull, what was that day, on Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah.
And he talked about how Detroit is real. He thought that Detroit was going to take a little bit of a step back, but I picked Detroit to win this division. But if you can get some of the clutch hitting that they did get, sometimes with the Guardians, you look at 7 runs, you be like, hey, can we save 3 of those and give me 3 or 4 tomorrow?
I know.
Well,
that's what I was saying to those runs in the ninth.
Yeah.
I mean, they were nice for cushion.
Yeah.
But I felt like they weren't going to score 4 of them. So hold some of those for today.
Yeah, save me some.
Either way, we went way too long without mentioning Tanner Bibee's name, who was incredible last night. 7 innings pitched, tied a season long. 96 pitches, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, only gave up 3 hits. That was the kind of performance we've been looking for Tanner Bibee. That was the ace-like performance, going on the road to against the best team in baseball, with the best record in the American League and the National League. A dominating performance.
Strikeouts. Yeah.
96 pitches, by the way, to get through 7 innings and 8 strikeouts.
We don't get many of those performances.
And that's what I'm saying.
Usually our guys hit 100 in the 5th inning.
And that's been Bibee's issue for a while this season. He's throwing too many pitches. Jason and Bull have alluded to him trying to get too many strikeouts instead of pitching to contact at times. Last night, he was getting the swings and misses from Detroit. But that's the kind of performance you need from your ace. On the road against a really good offense like the Detroit Tigers. And then what Cade Smith did in the 8th inning, Jay. Oof. You want to talk about pressure situation? He had a bad outing earlier this week. To come back and not just strike out the side with the bases loaded and no outs.
That's crazy.
But through pure filth. He didn't miss a pitch. The splitter was incredible. The fastball was topping out at 98, 99 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it was one of those innings where we may look back on in hindsight. And that's not changing the season. I'm not trying to be over the top here, but that's the kind of inning that you can look back and say, when Cade Smith's dialed in, he's unhittable.
Well, if you separate by a game, that absolutely is an inning that you look back on.
But I'm saying,
like at the end of the year, if the Tigers and the Guardians are separated by a game for either a wild card spot or for the division, and when you have bases loaded and nobody out, the way you look at it as a pitcher you're trying to limit the damage. The way I've always done it is I say, okay, the guy I'm pitching to right now is not going to score. I'm looking at it as a fresh inning. I need 3 outs. And the guys that are on base are in position to score. Anything less than all 3 of those runs scoring, in my mind, is a win. Especially because the score is 3-0. You cannot give up the go-ahead run. And for Cade Smith to come out and strike out the side, yeah, absolutely. Later in September, if it's a very close game, a lot of folks will think back to that 8th inning on a rainy night in May in Detroit and say that may have been the turning point.
And he was unhittable. That's the point I want to emphasize.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just, he got some guys to swing and miss at pitches out of the zone. He got dudes to swing at pure filth.
That's who he is when he's on his game. That's who he is. He's got multiple pitches that are unhittable. I wonder if before the game there was a conversation between Vogt and Bibee that went something like this. You're our ace. We're starting the series. And by the way, Detroit did something that I thought was really odd. They went with a bullpen game coming into this series, specifically so they could start the series with Flaherty. He's had success against the Guardians. He hasn't had a great year this year. He was much better last year. But they didn't make any bones about it. They decided that they were going to go bullpen game leading into this series so Flaherty could start the series against the Guardians. So, it's May, but it was big enough
some gamesmanship, yep,
that they felt like, let's get the guy on the hill. Now, he's not their ace. Obviously, Skubal's their ace, and we'll see him Sunday.
It's Logan Allen versus
But
Skubal
I think
on
it's
Sunday.
Sunday.
It's whatever the last game of the series is.
It's a 4-game series, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it's going to be
Skubal,
Sunday.
Logan Allen.
Skubal's, and that's kind of smart too because he's their ace in the hole. Yeah. He's their guy. If you do lose the first 3, he's going to come in and stop that skid right now. So I think that was, I like that part of it. And Hinch is a great manager. He does a lot of things like that. You remember last year, the whole month of the season, he pretty much went with bullpen games.
Yeah.
And somehow, miraculously, after management had waved the white flag and started trading guys, they climbed back in it and gave the Guardians all they wanted in the DS series. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I wonder if Stephen Vogt didn't come up to Tanner Bibee before the game and said, look, the season starts today. Forget your start. You have a clean start beginning on May 21st. This is our first really big game of the year.
Yeah.
And we need the most out of you. And the reason I wonder if that conversation took place is because after he came out in the 7th inning, and it was clear he was done with 96 pitches, and I think he showed a little bit of that emotion I think he struck out the final hitter. He came into the dugout, and when they came back from commercial break, they rolled in the video clip. It was a prolonged hug in the dugout from Stephen Vogt and Tanner Bibee. Normally, the skipper will come up to the pitcher, put his hand out and say, well done, we needed that. This was different. This was a prolonged embrace with words being exchanged, and I think what Vogt was saying was, you just stepped up. You're 1-0. Yep. We needed you today to step up and be our ace, and you are our ace. That's why we trust you for what you just did. And that can turn his season around, and they're going to need him to be Tanner Bibee ace version. Because we don't know when when Shane Bieber's coming back, and is he going to be the same pitcher when he does come back? That's the big if.
And Bibee be teetering a little bit. Like I don't know how other people see him around the league in Major League Baseball, but if you just throw his name out there, how many people would say, "Oh, top flight ace"? No,
doubt about it. I think the diehards know what he is, but the average baseball fan probably has no idea who this guy is and what he can do.
And I think that's what Stephen Vogt was saying. Like, look, man, like you have all of the skills requisite in order to be one of them frontline guys, a household name. And winning games like this is how you become a household name.
You're right.
Like you giving up 3 hits, like the entire, and then the strikeouts. We haven't seen that level of strikeout performance to his walks in a long period of time. So
this is most strikeouts this season.
Yeah,
this was the ace version of Tanner Bibee. This was the best he can be, and the fact that he did it in the biggest game of the year so far for them, I think speaks volumes for who this guy is. He can be a big game pitcher. He can step up. He can give you that kind of performance in the clutch. And the one thing that is contagious in baseball, because the saying that momentum is the next day's starting pitcher. Very, very true. But not taken into account enough is what yesterday's starting pitcher is giving to you. Is he giving you an egg where he went 4 1/3 and gave up 7 runs? Or is he giving you a Tanner Bibee? Because it does ratchet up your performance level when the guy before you went out there in a big game and threw a game like that.
And Kate Smith striking out the side, like with the bases loaded and no outs, that's the equivalent of, like, to me, a pitching version of a grand slam. Like, if you hit a grand slam, like, that changes all momentum.
It's a momentum change.
When you strike out, because all you got to do is get a ground ball gets you a run. A sacrifice fly a couple of times gets you a run. This guy came in.
You get a double play, you get a run.
Even in double play, you get a run. He came in and was like, nah, I think I'm going to strike you out. That is so deflating because you're at least counting on 1 to 2 runs if you get in that position. Minimal.
When you load them with nobody out and you get nothing, that is such a deflator.
Yeah.
You're done. And as a pitcher, you do want to minimize the damage. You'd love to keep them to no runs, but it's not really realistic. In reality, anything outside the outfield is going to score 1. Anything on the grass outside the outfield has a chance to score 2.
Yep.
And for him to come in that situation, he's got the moxie and the stuff to be a closer in this league. And again, I know that there's been some struggles from Clase this year. He started to look better, and I think he's more Emmanuel Clase from last year than he was Emmanuel Clase from playoffs last year, because he started as if he was Emmanuel Clase from playoffs. But he's sort of dialed it in. He's looking good. Guys, the benefit of having a guy like Gaddis to take care of the 7th, and that's even assuming that your starter can't go longer. When they can, it's a bonus, even like better. Last night. Yeah. But if you can go Gaddis in the 7th, Smith in the 8th, and bring in Clase for the 9th, you've shortened the game to 6 innings, and that demoralizes the opponent because they know if they're not on top of you by 6 innings, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So just a great way to start the series.
Even more valuable in a playoff series when you get to guys making every pitch at the highest of intensities and they wear down quicker. But on the other side, for the at-bats, the offensive side for the Guardians, we saw Lane Thomas make his return to the lineup yesterday. Jay, he was hitting in the 2-hole.
Right, I like him there.
Jose slides back down to the 3-hole.
Yep.
And I know Thomas had an RBI. He's only hitting 143 on the season in a tiny sample size.
Well, he had a terrible start before
that's
the
what I'm
wrist
saying.
injury.
Tiny sample size. But
he was tearing it up in the minors.
Having him back gives the Guardians another professional at bat in the
100%.
lineup. And it takes one of the guys who, John Kenzie Noel, some of the Will Brennan, the right fielders, who are, for lack of a better word, basically an automatic out that can occasionally run into a home run.
Pretty close.
Out of the lineup and gives you another guy that has a chance to get on base. He has a good eye. And put more runners on the pond for Jose when he gets up.
Yeah, I don't think any, DeLauder, Bazana is hurt. I don't think there's no big names coming to save nobody.
Well, David Fry's coming.
David Fry, yes.
And DeLauder is, I believe he starts his rehab stint
soon.
Next week?
Soon, yep.
And so he's going to have to perform. He's going to have to prove that he's worthy of being called up. But right now, when you look at their assortment of right fielders.
It's not good.
Nolan Jones.
Misfits toys.
Now it's Little Christmas. It's not even Big Christmas.
Oh, man.
It's Little Christmas. And
Christmas Eve.
I hate to say it. Or the day after Christmas. You know
Black
that feeling you have the day after Christmas? You're like, man, it's over.
It's done.
I feel like the day after Christmas.
The commercials is gone. What happened to all the Christmas carols?
There's no more music on the radio.
At all. Comes to a screeching halt.
Mariah Carey goes back to sleep.
That's right, until next December 1st.
December 28th is so terrible.
And Will Brennan wasn't, he was less than what we saw when he was here last year. Now I think he's on the injured list. They had to make room for him with bringing Lane Thomas back. But there are some bats that are coming. But if Lane Thomas can develop into the guy that he was late last season, and David Fry can continue that crazy magic that he had last year, which, by the way, he carried over into the playoffs. It wasn't just regular.
He was all-star.
He was insane. He was absolutely insane. He was an all-star, and everybody thought that, the clock's going to strike midnight. And when the playoffs came around, Ty Jerome turned back into what he was before. But for not for David Fry. David Fry had some huge hits in the postseason. And getting his bat back in the lineup is going to be a huge help. So if you get Shane Bieber back, and I know that's a huge if, but if you get him back in July and he's even close to the guy that he used to be, then I think the Guardians can compete for this division. But short of that, and then, David Fry returning to his old self, it's going to be a tough ask because this Tigers team is legit. They're real.
We have a secret weapon, though, that we haven't talked enough about on
We
UCSS.
do?
Yes. Every time Adam the Bull says a player on the Guardians sucks,
He comes to life.
Daniel Schneemann,
Yes.
Arias.
Yes.
This week it was Carlos Santana.
Yes.
Santana in the last week has an OPS over 1. It's 1.107, 2 homers, 7 RBIs in the last 7 games. We just need Bull to start saying everybody sucks.
Well, he's been saying Austin Hedges.
He kind of already does that.
But he's been saying that about Austin Hedges forever, and it didn't really
listen, I didn't say it's a foolproof plan. I said it's a semi-foolproof plan. But we just need Bull to start getting down on all the guys in this lineup because every time he says someone can't perform,
Miles Straw. He said Miles Straw sucked.
And he signed a contract.
Yeah, but
Bull was right.
He is who we thought he was.
Bull was right. I'm not saying Bull's wrong on some of these. Like, I'm not sure if Schneemann's success is sustainable.
I think the lesson that we've learned here is Bull says a lot of guys suck.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah.
He kicks dirt on a lot of these guys, rightfully so for some of them. But I was talking to some friends of mine that are Guardian fans, and I had posed the question, who's the guy that needs to turn into the best version of himself? And everybody agreed, well, it's Big Christmas. Like, if Noel can somehow be, when he's at his best, he's like
awesome. Yeah,
Big
he's
Poppy.
awesome.
He's like an all-star. But it's just for a minute. It's just
like
for a minute.
a
But
hot
you know what?
second.
That is so tantalizing how good he can be. When he hits a ball 430 feet, and you just look at that and say, oh my God, we need more of that. If he can be Big Christmas all of the time, he turns into Big Poppy. And then the Guardians can compete with just about anybody in the American League.